Before the world's leaders land in Seoul, Kim Jong Un makes his move. Missiles roar across North Korea's sky. Short range, precise, and defiant. A message to Trump, Xi, and Japan's new Iron Lady. Pyongyang will not be ignored. As APEC nears, diplomacy trembles, and Kim reminds the world who controls the tension. On October 22nd, North Korea launched multiple short-range ballistic missiles, or SRBMs, towards a spot in its northeastern interior in what observers see as a calculated move to bolster its negotiating leverage with the United States while demonstrating its strike capability against South Korea and Japan. South Korea's Joint Chiefs of Staff said the missiles were fired around 8:10 a.m. local time from Chonghwa County in North Hwanghae Province, south of Pyongyang. The missiles flew about 350 kilometers before landing in North Korea's northeast. The same launch site was used in March 2023 for a test of the KN-23 series, modeled after Russia's Iskander missile. This marked Pyongyang's fifth ballistic missile launch in 2025, and the first since May 22nd, during which it had tested both ballistic and cruise missiles. The missiles are believed to be improved variants of the Hwasong-11A or Hwasong-11Da 4.5, part of North Korea's evolving tactical short-range arsenal influenced by Russian Iskander-class technology. Previously, North Korea launched the Hwasong-11Da 4.5 from Kaichon, South Pyongyang Province on September 18th last year. At the time, North Korea described the weapon as a new tactical ballistic missile with a 4.5-ton conventional warhead. Analysts interpreted it as a direct counter to South Korea's high-powered Hyunmoo ballistic missiles. Military experts warn that if further upgraded, such missiles could target not only all of South Korea, but also some US military bases in Japan. The missiles were launched from a mobile transporter erector launcher platform, enabling rapid redeployment and concealment. The South Korean military confirmed that no foreign territory was targeted and no debris entered Japanese or South Korean airspace, aligning with Pyongyang's pattern of controlled provocations to avoid direct retaliation. This comes weeks after North Korea unveiled its Hwasong-20 Intercontinental Ballistic Missile, or ICBM, during an October military parade, which it described as its most powerful nuclear delivery system. The parade, attended by senior Chinese and Russian delegations, symbolized Pyongyang's tightening defense ties with Moscow and Beijing amid continued isolation from the UN and the West. While an American reaction was awaited at press time, China said its position and policy on the Korean Peninsula issue remained consistent and stable, and that it had no new comment regarding the relevant launch activities. The Presidential Office of National Security said it held an emergency meeting following North Korea's launch of short-range ballistic missiles. The meeting came shortly after the North fired the missiles towards the East Sea, its first such launch since President Lee Jae-myung took office in June. The meeting was attended by officials from the ONS, the Defense Ministry, and the Joint Chiefs of Staff. In a press release, the Presidential Office said,
"The office reviewed the military's response measures and assessed the potential impact on the situation on the Korean Peninsula. The government will closely monitor related developments, including the possibility of additional missile launches by North Korea, and consider necessary measures."
The office added that it monitored the launch in real time and reported relevant details to the president. The latest launch came about a week before South Korea is set to host the Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation Summit on October 31st and November 1st. Kim Jong Un's decision to launch ballistic missiles just days before the APEC summit in South Korea appears to be a multi-layered geopolitical signal aimed at Japan's new Prime Minister, Sanae Takaichi, South Korea's new President Lee Jae-myung, and other world leaders, including American President Donald Trump and his Chinese counterpart, Xi Jinping. Analysts describe the test as a deliberate act of messaging rather than pure military testing. The launch served as an early test of Prime Minister Takaichi's leadership resolve. Japan, already alarmed by North Korea's expanding missile range and regional unpredictability, interpreted the launch as a direct show of defiance. The missiles flew towards the Sea of Japan, a symbolic choice reminding Tokyo of its proximity to Pyongyang's potential strike zone. Experts noted that Kim Jong Un likely wanted to probe the new administration's reaction, gauging whether Takaichi would pursue stricter defense postures or continue reliance on US deterrence. This echoes Kim's earlier strategy of testing new Japanese leaders to shape their early foreign policy direction. Takaichi told reporters that Tokyo was closely communicating with Washington and Seoul, including by sharing real-time missile warning data.
First, South Korea announced that North Korea had launched a ballistic missile, so I changed my plans to go out and have just received a report on the situation. Japan, the United States, and South Korea are working closely together, including sharing missile warning data in real time, to ensure a thorough response. The government is aware of this latest launch. We have just checked and have not confirmed that any missiles have been launched into Japan's territorial waters or exclusive economic zone. In addition, no reports of damage or other information have been received from related agencies. However, in order to ensure the safety of the Japanese people, the Takaichi cabinet has just instructed the Minister of Defense and the Minister for Foreign Affairs to continue collecting and analyzing this necessary information. That is all from me.
For South Korean President Lee Jae-myung, the first missile test of his term was a political and psychological challenge. Kim's timing, just before Lee was set to host APEC, was aimed at undermining Seoul's image of control and stability. Lee's campaign had promised renewed inter-Korean dialogue, but Kim's launch signals Pyongyang's unwillingness to engage on Seoul's terms. Analysts in Seoul believe this was a reminder that Kim, not Lee, dictates the tempo of peninsula tensions, forcing the new administration to either respond firmly or appear diplomatically weak. To the global stage, Kim's move carried a broader message. With President Donald Trump, Xi Jinping, and regional leaders heading to Seoul for APEC, the missile test was designed to reassert North Korea's presence on the global agenda. While firing a ballistic missile, a violation of United Nations Security Council resolutions, North Korea limited the provocation to a short-range launch, leaving room for future dialogue. Kim has previously expressed willingness to meet with Trump, provided that denuclearization is not on the table. In September, Kim reportedly said he held fond memories of his previous discussions with Trump. Analysts believe the broader aim is to solidify North Korea's status as a de facto nuclear state, backed by China and Russia. With both Trump and Chinese President Xi Jinping expected to attend APEC, North Korea's latest move may have been a deliberately timed and calculated show of force. Strategically, Kim could have aimed to remind Washington and Beijing that North Korea must be included in security discussions, particularly as the United States tries to revive Asian trade and defense initiatives. The launch also serves as a warning against any multilateral unity at APEC that could isolate or sanction Pyongyang further. Analysts see the act as part deterrence, part diplomacy by show of force. The missile chosen, a modified Hwasong-11 Da-4.5, similar to Russia's Iskander, signals North Korea's expanding accuracy and alignment with Russian technology amid deepening Pyongyang-Moscow ties. By provocatively testing this system just as world leaders converge in Seoul, Kim sends a clear statement. North Korea cannot be sidelined nor ignored in the Indo-Pacific security calculus.